Hey guys, it's Marty, and welcome to Two Line Slot Cars. It is Tuesday at Two Lines. As you can tell, I changed up the studio a little bit. I moved the camera and all of my gear out here by the track because every week everybody complains that they can't see my track. Oh, hang on. How about we kill the audio on the other window? There we go. So I moved out here. You can see the track. You can see where Two Line Speedway is and where we race. And so, yeah, excited about the change. I had to move some lights. It's been a whole ordeal, but we're here. So, guys, I'm really excited. I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to bring Bruce on. Let's see. Here we go. Hey, Bruce. Welcome to Two Lines Speedway or Two Line Slot Cars. Welcome to the live stream. And how are things? Yeah. How are things in Cincinnati?
Doing well. A little cold today.
Recovering from the Bengals loss over the weekend.
That was brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal,
That
man.
was brutal.
Yep.
I mean, it's nice that everybody thinks we got the shaft, which I kind of agree, but it's not,
It
nothing's
doesn't.
going to change, so
Yeah.
just move on.
It doesn't help that you're not playing football in 2 weeks. So yeah,
That's all
yeah,
right.
yeah. So it was a great game. I just, yeah, I was a little disappointed in the outcome, but
We
that's
probably
the
had more wins in the last 2 years than we have in the last 15 years.
right. Yeah, it's been a good couple years to be a Bengals fan for sure. So.
Yep.
So Bruce, CIncy Slots, let's jump in and talk about that. I'll try to keep up with the chat. If there's any questions you guys have for Bruce, throw them in the chat. I can throw them up on the screen, and it looks like we've got a lot of guys in. Bruce, on your end, I don't know if you see the chat or not. You might have to bring up the
Yeah,
actual.
I just opened.
Okay, yeah, and then you'll want to mute the audio from it, so just so that you won't get the echo. So we got Gene's in, Daryl's in. Yeah, Marty must be trimming his beard. Hey, thanks, Daryl. I need a trim. Um, Gene, we have Area 51. George, thanks for joining, guys. Hey, Kevin, John Mark. We got a lot of guys on. And then Bruce Breck. Bruce is new to the live stream from Columbus, Ohio. Bruce, we keep meeting lots of people from Ohio that are into slot cars. So this is good. So, but anyway, let's jump in. How, I guess, where did you get started in slot cars, and how did that come about? And were you a kid like most of us and got a HO track for Christmas, or did you jump in a different way?
No, my brother and we got an AFX set when we were kids. It was it had that blue and white police car and a semi tractor trailer set.
Oh yeah,
And just like everybody else, you played it with it for a while. It got put away. You'd bring it back out, get the track all erasered off, and
right.
everything working again. And then you'd move on to something else. And you just touch and go through the years. And um, in 2000 or 1999, somewhere in there, my wife, she's from Germany, so we were over there visiting my in-laws, and just happened to go into one of their toy stores, and they had a couple Carrera cars. That was back when um, the white with blue stripe Shelby Mustang was out. Um, there was a green GTO, that vintage stuff,
Right.
blue and white Camaro. And I think I bought one when I was over there. And then when I got home, I thought, that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to go get some more. And there was a train store, probably, I don't know, it's probably the biggest, or was the biggest train store in at least Southwest Ohio, if not more. And so I went down there, and like everybody else, you buy one, you buy two. And next thing you know, you're like, what the hell am I doing? And so with our Ford parts business, I thought, I might be able to make this work actually if I start carrying cars. And so I brought in, happened to be a distributor locally, and they had Fly, Ninco, MRRC, SCX, and maybe one or two other brands. So I started carrying stuff that they had, and then after a while, I went over to Skulectric, or now Hornby, or I guess it's always been Hornby, but
Right.
Electric at the time, and then Carrera, and then it just snowballed into bringing in everybody, and it just slowly grew. I mean, we started right around 2000, and here we are, 23 years later, with a couple thousand cars and all the odds and ends that comes with it.
Yeah. So you said your wife's from Germany. Where at in Germany?
Ingolstadt. It's the home base for Audi.
Okay. Very good.
It's
I
in
have
Bavaria.
okay. I have friends that live in the Black Forest area in Kondern, which is near Basel, Switzerland. That bottom corner.
Yep.
And yeah, I've been over there 4 times to visit them. I took my whole family over about 10 years ago. It's beautiful area. Love the country. Yeah. So the track, I put the video out about it. The guys and I, when I refer to the guys, my brother Dusty and John Mark, we came down a few weeks ago and had an amazing time. I know I've talked about it a bunch, but we just had such a great time. It was the first time we'd ever raced. We're totally in and addicted. But how many iterations of your track have you had over the years? Because I mean, was that when you started just one? Okay. So
let me interrupt you here. Is that feedback coming from my end? You said I might have to turn the audio off on the chat. How do I do that? I don't hear any beeping when someone types something. So
no, I think you're good. We would hear it. I don't hear it.
Okay. All right. So no, that's the only layout we've done. Jamie B, that's on here, he designed, I don't know, 5 or 6 options for us, and the one we went with, I think everyone would agree, it just flows the best. And the reason that we don't change it is ours, as you know, we can run digital and analog, and we've been doing that well before tech slot boxes were available, or what's that other one, Omni box or Omni.
Yeah.
And we had to order a component from India, and we had to get parts from all over the world. And a guy from Germany that lived here in Cincinnati, he was kind of like the Cincinnati slot car god, and he was a mechanical engineer. Through him and other stuff I'm sure he read, he found a way to make I think we had 6 home tracks here in Cincinnati that were all set up to run both well before it was even a thing.
That's impressive.
So with our track being wired the way it is, it would be just such a pain in the butt to pull it up, change it, make something else, because all that wiring for the digital and the analog, it'd just be a pain.
Yeah, for sure. That system handles everything really well, though. It was pretty seamless when you switched over from analog to digital that night. It was real impressive. So, and you're using
matter of turning one off and turning the other on.
Yeah. You're using TrackMate. Is that the name of the software?
No, we're using Bruce Yoemans.
Oh, okay.
He designed the software a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he probably could have sold it and made a lot of money doing so, but I'm not sure if he. My understanding is he just did it for the love of doing it, and he got to use it on his own set. And Sebastian, the guy from Germany that used to live here in town, the two of them were pretty close in ideas and say, is it possible to add this or that? And so between the two of them, mainly Bruce, but he came up with some really solid and fantastic software, especially for free. All you got to do is, buy the cable that connects the computer, the TV, and the CU circle, and
Yeah.
it's really amazing.
Yeah. I thought it, I thought it handled your analog race really well. And
Yeah,
then, is it the same software for digital as well? Does it manage your
digital.
digital?
I'm sorry, digital is the Yoemans software. Analog is TrackMate.
Okay.
Maybe
Got
I
it.
misunderstood.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
does a great job with digital. Yeah, the
Yeah.
124th digital race that night was chaos. That we'd never. I mean, we've never run 124 scale on my track because I didn't have an adjustable
Mm-hmm.
power supply until a few weeks ago, and that was pretty wild. It's like demolition derby.
Yeah, it's I don't I don't know. I'm just gonna say it, and hopefully no one's offended because that's not my idea or my
Yeah,
plan. But
yeah,
when when you were running with the guys that I was running with before Seb moved, I mean we'd run anywhere from 2 to 6 hour races with teams, and none of that carnage happened hardly at all. Just because like anything else, everyone's got a lot of experience. They know what's going on.
right.
The one thing with digital, if you come off in front of us, you know, you better hope they got good glue because if we're coming through.
That's right.
but with the group we have, some guys have used it before, some guys haven't, and with digital, you can't cringe when your car gets hit because it's going
Yeah,
to get hit, rather it's that time or the next time.
yeah. No,
Um,
it was fun. But it was the first time I think it was the scale that kind of surprised me. Just so much tighter on the track and than the
mhm.
132nd. But our surprise was how much we loved no non-mag racing. Um, I've since I built my track, we've always raced magnet here, and I've done some laps with no magnets, and it was a struggle mainly because of the way my layout is. It's a lot of long straights and not tight turns, but you just get so much speed in those straightaways. It's not really built for that. But what I found out this week is it can handle no mags if you know how to tune a car. And so that was the big thing
Yeah,
over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I've learned so much just showing up at your place. All the help that the guys have been there helping teach how to tune.
that's a great group of guys.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, I think I said earlier today that you've got something special there, and it was a great experience. So so how long have you been racing on Thursday nights? I know you go from like October to
Yeah,
March every.
I only do October to March. One year I went into April, and I equate it to when you're playing golf and you get to the ninth hole and you're supposed to be done, but you can add that other nine if you want because everybody's gung ho. We're still having a great time. And then when you get to the 12th hole, you're like, what are we
Yeah,
doing?
that's right.
We should get nine. So, it's a lot of fun to do, but it's also nice to have your Thursday night back.
Yeah, sure. No,
So,
yeah, it's probably good to have a season and then have a time
mhm.
where you're not racing, and then you can
And
everybody
some
can
places
work on
don't
their
even
cars.
start. I'm sorry. Some
Oh, you go
places
ahead.
don't even start until, December, January.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
it's a great hobby for the winter when the weather is
mhm.
awful. A lot of times guys have tracks in their basement. It's just a good time to go hang out in the basement or in the attic or wherever your track room is. Um, but I'm discovering all of the people that have home tracks. You were mentioning, you had built that system for 5 or 6 tracks around Cincinnati. I keep
Mhm.
bumping into people who keep inviting me to to go race at their place, which is really cool. There's way more people in this hobby than I expected in my area.
Yeah, I think part of it is it's like I don't know. It almost feels like nobody wants to admit it, but once they find out that you do it, it's just yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, they just go.
Yeah,
So it's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of fun. I had more fun racing at your place than I expected. Not that I didn't think I would have a good time. It's just
I get it.
it, it you get used to your own layout, and so racing on a different layout was fun. I will tell you, like y- racing on yours has me rethinking my whole entire layout, um, because I think I really enjoyed the technical part of your layout compared to mine. Um, so we'll probably be doing a redesign before too long, just because
Yeah.
it's a really great layout. So what's the
Just
typical
real
numbers?
quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
when you said, you know, when you know how to tune a car, it's a lot better. That's 100% true. When I was at my old house, um, Kurt Moser came over. We did a land speed race down at CIncy Slots. I don't know if you've been out in the warehouse. I assume you have. But the warehouse is about at least a football field long, and we set up 220 feet of Carrera track with a speed trap, and so we had cars that were going anywhere from 45 to 60 miles an hour.
That's awesome.
And when Kurt he stayed at my house, and we were down running on my track at that house, and I'd put mine on, and they ran okay, and then I'd put his on, and he'd been doing it a lot longer than me, and his cars were just like super smooth, and it just gets you thinking like, okay, I thought mine were pretty good, but look at this. This is how far I still have to go.
Right.
So yeah, once you get a car that the tires are trued and the weight's right in in the right spot, it's a hell of a lot more fun to run. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. You think you're learning things about tuning until you have a chance to run somebody else's car, and so got a chance to run some of Daryl's cars, and a couple other people took some turns, and I was working on this car all week. I picked up at your shop last week, the sideways Group 5, and it sort of clicked for me last night. Um, just make the ride height on the front and getting the weight distribution right, and it was amazing how fast the car changed. I would do a little
Mm-hmm.
tweak, do some test laps, still wasn't right, and then when I hit it, it was like holy cow! I could visually see the improvement on the track, and then I looked up at the clock and I broke the track record for no mag by about a second and a half. So like it really, yeah, tuning is such an important piece. I think to having fun, on when we race digital here, we run magnets. We put the family in magnets just so that we don't have to marshal as much, and everybody has a great time. But I think as we get more serious with, going out and racing other places, that's been fun for me is just learning to tune. So yeah, it's an important part.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of great content
Yep.
out there to help people tune, and that's the one thing YouTube and the internet has created is this knowledge share that we probably didn't have in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s for tuning cars. So
Yeah, Trouble Tube. You can find just about anything you want on there.
yeah, that's right. So what's
The one
next?
thing that kills me about I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish that.
I was just gonna say the one thing as far as tuning goes that kills me are when guys scuff their brand new silicone tires and then put it on the track. It's like you just killed the most pristine portion of the tire that was going to give you the most grip. And then when you do it by hand, if I had a slot car pet peeve, that would be it. Because when you buy a brand new pair of silicones and then scuff them up, that shine, it's like a race car. When you see the F1 guys, that shine is until they do a burnout. But for us,
Right.
it's not that way.
Yeah.
That shine is what's going to get you ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
If you go racing on, you know, 5 or 6 race old tires, they're still going to perform. if everyone did the same thing. But
Right.
you know, I just chalk it up to the cost of racing. It's no different if you go kart racing or bicycle racing. You're always going to have everything as fresh as you can to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it
But
definitely is. It's definitely a hobby. Like the entry point is pretty inexpensive when you think about all the other forms of racing out there. So I think that you could jump in. I mean, depending on what class, a Carrera class under $60 for a car and set of tires, especially if it was an analog class, and you're racing. And there's very few hobbies out there that you can get into. So if you're dropping $5-6 for another set of tires every couple of weeks, that's nothing. Yeah, yeah. But you'd be surprised the number of guys that try to true their silicone tires.
well, we used to do it, or yeah, we used to, and I used to, and anyone that's tried to true silicone, it's like 6 to 8 hours to get it where it really needs to be.
Right.
I mean, you can true them and make them great. Don't get me wrong, but I've since, depending on what car it is, if it's a aluminum wheel, I'll probably just round that inside edge where it's more square.
Yeah.
I'll round that off and go with it.
Yeah.
If it's on the fronts, I always get the Super Tire Zero Grip and then true it down as far as I can to where, the guide and the brushes, everything is, in the slot as much as it can be.
Yeah.
And go for it. If it's plastic wheels, I try to true more on the plastic wheel than I do the tire. But the issue with that is, they're plastic wheels, they're pressed on, probably a couple hundred, a couple thousand a day. Who knows how many they do in a day. They're not all going to be straight. But, if you just true that wheel a little bit, then the side of the tire that comes down and hits the hub on the outside, it's not going to be that big a deal. But if you try to true it too much, now you're going to have concave in the center because you took too much off that rib that the tire stretches over. So, there's a fine line there.
Yeah.
But truing them by hand, it's just not, it's not the same.
It's probably a lot of work for very little advantage. Unlike other things that you can tune on. Like what I'm learning is that front ride height is so important, and getting those front wheels and tires where they need to be. Because that was the big thing I was fighting on this car last night. And once I got it right, it's like, wow, the performance was crazy how well it cornered compared to before. So there are some questions
and if it's taking you like 6 hours, because we would do one at a time and just mic it to get them both the same, because both at the same time, I don't know, but anyhow, I lost my train of thought now. But yeah, that's it. When you're spending 6 hours on a side, how much is that time worth to you? You might as well just buy a new set, throw it on, and you're done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I've never been a push parts kind of guy at all. But tires before racing, that would be the one thing I would push. Yeah. And when you buy them, don't put them on and go practice with them, because now you're taking, the good stuff, really good stuff, off in practice. So.
Yeah. Yeah, especially so the way you manage your analog races, you run two 3.5 minute races in both lanes. And so, yeah, I could see if you put, 30 or 40, 50 practice laps in on that set of tires, then, you've already lost some of that advantage right off the bat. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they're the same.
Great tip.
Off.
Yeah. Yeah. So somebody asks, so do you like 1/24th scale? A lot of guys run 132, or should we try both?
I love the 124. Actually, I didn't really do a lot in 132nd until probably, I don't know, 2010, 2012, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Because Seb, we always did 124 digital, and you know, when you have six of those cars all barreling down the straightaway, I mean, it's like wild horses coming down. I mean, you
Yeah.
can feel it in the track, and
Oh yeah.
it's just a blast.
Yeah.
It's just a blast.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I, I enjoyed the analog racing probably more that night because I'd already done a lot of digital racing, so that was new for me. But yeah, the racing 124 was a big change. You're right. The cars perform way different, and you just have so much mass. But you can't deny the great detail that those the 124 scale cars have. Yeah, they look fantastic.
Yeah,
So let's see. Dave says yes, land speed. I was there. So
yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah. It
Um,
was a good time. We had shoot. I think the first year because the UK was. I think they had a thing. Was it Bonhams? That big, huge track that Mercedes and maybe Audi. They'd get up to 200 plus with the streamliner type cars.
yeah,
So they were Skelectric must have set up a track there for a land speed race, and then we got to thinking, well, heck, we got the spot for that. And
yeah,
the first rendition of the track was going to be MDF, but it was in 8 foot sections, and trying to level 8 foot sections and then make sure we had good connection between each one with the copper tape. It wasn't good, so we just went with Carrera, and
yeah.
the video's on our YouTube channel. Check it out. There's some big crashes and some cool runs, and at the end of the day, we set up a ramp at the end. So we had a jump contest, see
That's
who
cool.
could go the furthest. And
That's really
so
cool.
it was a good
Um, so Jim Cunningham jumped on, and Jim says in the '60s they had magazines and books, so there was a great deal of information about building and tuning. Um, so yeah, I didn't mean that there wasn't. I just feel like it's so available to everyone here because of YouTube and the internet, and the people are willing to share. I mean, I did RC racing. My brother and I did years ago, and you would get to the track where we raced, and there would be a few people were willing to share information to help you out, especially if you were a beginner. But most people just kind of let you hang out there. Somebody's got to finish last, and if it's the guys that they
time.
don't help. But I feel like there's so many people out there willing to help. So yeah, that's. But thanks, Jim, for the
Typically,
comment.
in that scenario, it's like I won't tell you secret A until I've already found out secret B. So you're still one step behind.
Right?
But I think in our group, especially with Daryl, he's just you know he's so proud of his cars, and he should be because he's got them all set up, and he just I just think he just wants everyone to have a top car, and I do too because it makes the competition so much better.
Yeah,
And this year, with Tate and Larry, who this is their first year, um, like last week, Tate had I think 42 laps,
yeah.
and I think his first
I tied with
time
him.
he was probably like 34, 35. So it's great to see, you know, even if you're just improving one lap, you're still getting better. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's
you could
more
tell
fun.
he was getting his rhythm down. And I
Mm-hmm.
told that story about I didn't know their names. I knew Tate's name because I raced against him that first night we were there, but I didn't know Larry and then Tate's dad.
Grandpa.
Yeah, I called him Grandpa. Yeah, he gives me a hard time. He gave me a hard time about that on Thursday. But like great people. But how fun was it that they came one week and the next week they came in, they bought a car, and they were all racing that car, and then now their stable's growing, and they're all doing it as a family. Like how fun is that?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's got to be one of the things that you enjoy about. I mean, it makes it worth your time on Thursday nights putting the race together.
And what was nice too is, probably the first 2, weeks. I don't really remember. I know Larry came into the shop. He bought I think it was one of the specials cars. Um, he liked it, bought it, took it home, and brought it in. And it wasn't even, a class we were running that night.
Yeah.
And in years past, there may have been one or two guys that are like, that's not the class we're running, where nobody in this year's lineup even, mentioned it.
Right.
It's just like, hey, he's here, he's having a good time. We all know what's going on. Just let him run, have a great time. And, then he caught wind that, we were running specific classes. Then he's like, okay. So,
Yep.
But when you're the new guy coming in, to buy one or two brand new cars a month, not everybody can swing that. So
Sure.
It gets a little tough, and that's when Daryl comes in and
saves the day.
Here, drive this one. You don't like it? Drive this one. Drive this one.
Right.
Drive this one.
He has options. Yeah, I asked him that night. I'm like, okay, Daryl, I have to ask you. In the 124th race, I raced a Ferrari and Dusty raced Corvette or whatever it was, and we know that wasn't part of the class. And he's like, you guys aren't racing for points, so it was all good. I'm like, well, like that was great, and that makes your place different than probably a lot of other places, but that's really cool to see. Let's see.
We almost canceled the points this year because I don't think anybody was. I don't think anybody would have missed them.
Sure.
But then when I wasn't going to do it, I had a couple guys go, "You didn't send out the points email." I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing points again. So
yeah.
It's
so
fun.
What's the typical numbers for you each week at your track?
Say the first year or two, we were probably, if we had 8 to 10, we had a good night.
Yeah.
And last week, I think we were at 18. And I'd say mostly this year we've had probably 10 to 12 regulars. So
that's great numbers.
Great. I mean,
yeah.
There's times where we had 5 people, and it makes you wonder, like, why am I even bothering?
Right.
We could just all come to my house. I could just turn the lights off, go upstairs, go to bed.
That's right.
And still have the same amount of fun. But when you like the guys and they're all easygoing, it's hard not to like it.
That's right. Yeah, it's good. So there's a number of questions about your track that's behind you in the chat. So people were asking if it was 2 lanes, 4 lane.
Whatever.
It's all good.
It's a 4 lane, and Josh, the guy at the shop, that helps me out. Him and I tried. We probably have 8 hours in trying to get a 4 lane analog and then 2 lanes digital, and we just couldn't get it to realize into what we wanted. And about 2 weeks ago, I took out all the digital stuff and just made it a straight 4 lane. So I had to call Uncle at one point and leave it as a 4 lane, which is fine. We were talking about the 3.5 minutes at the shop. It'd be nice to have a 4 lane down there, but still going to take the same amount of time or more time, because now everybody's got to cycle through 4 lanes.
4 lanes instead of 2. Yeah.
You get to run more, but it's still going to take you the same or twice as long, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, you probably would have to just run 1 class instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I thought about, why don't we do, 1 month, just have people come over here, we'll race here, analog, everything, and the next month go to the shop, do digital 132, digital 124, and split it up that way. But you just never know who didn't read the info that we're racing here and not there. And they show up there and they get mad because they came from whatever, Dayton or wherever.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense. One question, Mad P has got, are 124th scale faster? Do they stay on the track better?
They are not faster. When you first drive it, you're going to think, man, this thing is a pig. I better go get those RMS 30,000K motors. Um, some people like that. I personally don't. I prefer the standard 124th motors. We run like 19.5 volts at the power supply, which by the time it gets to the track, it's about 18. So you get the full 18. Um, they're they're really easy to drive, I think, even in the no mag. Um, with the magnets, even the Carrera 132 cars with the magnets, it's just you've been there. When you pull the
Yeah.
trigger, you just feel like you're dragging an offensive lineman behind you. It just you can
Right.
feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but you can feel different things through the controller when you pull the trigger and you have that car with the magnets in the middle and the one in the back. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say that's one of the things that I'm starting to really understand is like feeling through the controller what's going on with the car. When I first started, I had no clue that would even develop. But the more laps I get, I have a little slot at the GT40. I love that car, super fast, but it gets real light coming down my hill, and I can feel that in the controller now, which is kind of a weird sensation, but yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Bernie
Yeah,
is
when you try
asking.
to tell people you can feel it in the controller, I mean, they look at you like, man, you're crazy.
Yeah,
But
no,
no, you can feel stuff.
yeah, you can.
It's strange.
Yeah. So Bernie asks, how are you able to race 6 digital 124 cars on Carrera when the manual says maximum 40, so maximum 4? Does
So,
he probably already
Bernie.
knows. He already knows the answer to that.
Yeah, he knows the answer, but thanks for throwing that out there, Bernie. I think Carrera only advertises running 4 because I think that's all their stock system can run um, comfortably. Where if you were to put 6 with their wall wart power supply that you get with them, it may. I've never tried it. I don't even know if I probably I haven't used a stock power supply since probably 2005, so
Yeah.
I don't even remember what happened back then. But my guess is Carrera wouldn't be strong enough to support 6.
Right.
Plus, we're using an aftermarket 20 volt 10 amps, so we got plenty of power to run those. Um, we also have a like a heat sink
Yeah.
that
Try to keep
above
cool.
my pay grade, but Seb said we needed it, so we put it in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Try to keep everything cool. Yeah, I bumped into that
mhm.
with the tech slot box. It has digital 124 chips in the box, um, but if you run something that has a little hotter motor, you got to be careful because you can burn up a chip. So we figured out what happened to my tech slot box, and I think it was less about having something wired up wrong, and more about trying to run something that was a little much for the system. So, which is the beauty of what your system, probably the way you build it for the analog, um, which is probably why they require the heat sink. But let's see, what else do we have? They're talking
With
about.
that in mind, we recently changed out our CU and we've removed the heat sink that runs under the table, and everything seems to be running fine. So
Oh,
I'm not saying to go ahead and do it. Everything's going to be
sure,
great. You're on your own.
right,
Disclaimer: it's going to fry everything you put on the track,
yeah,
but it works for us.
yeah. Jim Cunningham said
So,
2-lane digital, 4-lane analog is easy with the Omni slot box. A little plug for the
yeah.
Omni slot box.
Thank you, Jim. But it took so much work to get it out of here. I'm not putting it back in.
It's so it's not the amps, not the volts. That's So it's the amps, not the volts, that's important with the D24. Yeah, Bernie, I think so. Just the research that I've done, just that draw with 4 cars in the stock power supply is barely enough to run those 4 cars. They're pretty
And
dog.
with amps, the amps only come into play, if the car's not calling for it, there's no amps
Right.
being used, if I understand that correctly. If everybody hits the controller on a restart, you might launch up to 8 amps and, you still have 2 to go, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to me, the voltage goes fast.
Yeah. Yeah. John Mark says the amps, it's the amps that push the volts. Yeah, that makes sense. So on your track with the 4-lane behind you, that's how you would run that. Just everybody gets 3.5 minutes in the,
Yeah.
you run shorter.
So what I'm going to do now is, Josh, if you're listening, we're going to, I bought the switches for the analog stations. So on this side of the table is going to have the switch. So it's like having 2 tracks on this side because you can run left to right, right to left. And then I'm going to run the wires to the other side, which I already have 2 driver stations over there. So it made it easy for marshaling if you only had a few people. In the old days, you had to, climb on wherever it is. Right. Oh, I had it. You had to climb on a stool
Gotcha.
and walk across the table. And, there's only 3 or 4 of us that would chance that.
Sure.
So if you see down here, I've got all my Carrera 124 stuff.
Nice.
And so I took a couple rows out, and I was going to cut, a square out of it. So on racing out, I could just move those 124s out. People can crawl under, get up. It's a lot easier than, I was thinking about Bernie on this, that he could, crawl under instead of trying to work his way over. And so in doing that, what I'm getting at is even when you go to the other side, now you have 2 more tracks left or right. So it's like having 4 in 1. So
yeah, so you change perspective and direction. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That gives you a lot of change up too. So you could surprise everybody when they showed up to race and say, "Hey, this is the direction we're going tonight," and that might even some of the racing out a little bit too. People aren't used to that.
There's going to be one where everybody, oh gosh, not that direction.
That's all right.
That's try to find out.
That's a great idea. Yeah, Josh, adding reverse to the track. Heck yeah, that's cool. I probably need to. Who did you say that was Josh? That
Josh at the office. Josh.
At the office. I probably need to talk to him about some ideas for my layout, maybe, since it looks like he's pretty good at that.
He was buzzcut guy that works with us.
Yeah.
He's pretty sharp on the wiring. It's not really my thing.
Yeah.
But so
yeah, I
he
think
did a good job helping me.
Yeah, the planning is what I enjoy, trying to plan out the layout, but it can be tough to find the right type of flow, and that's what I like about that. Your track looks like it's got great flow, the one behind you.
Yeah, I just want it done. That's what I want. I don't.
Tired of working on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back at my house. Is it done yet?
That's right.
So.
Hey, welcome, MP. Good to see you, Massimo. Thanks for jumping in, man. Josh, walking across the track is all kinds of fun, and yes, I was listening. That's great. Josh Reed, CIncy Slots, I know as Dayton down there, scoring Marty. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, hey Massimo, welcome.
Is there a spot on here I can add a pick or no? Is that not possible?
Let's see.
I only see like mute, share, and hang up, so I just wasn't sure.
Oh wait, I can probably share a picture.
I would have shown the picture that I sent you.
Okay. Yeah, let me bring it up. Hold on. Give me just a second. Yeah, that's a great shot of your place. I gotta find it. I thought I just had it up.
I haven't read any of these comments because I didn't have my glasses on. I hope
You're right.
nobody's looking for an answer from me.
No, you're good. Oops, there it is. Okay, download.
Oh, that's right. You had the shadow video today.
Yeah, the shadow video is pretty. That's pretty sweet.
If anyone knows how I can get in with CG slot cars, let me know. I've tried, but
In CG slot cars.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I've tried, but I never hear back from
them. Did I just kill our feed? I think I did. Let's go back to
them.
default.
There you go. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal.
Well, I knew how to do this. Oh, I can do this. And then I can go to web browser.
There we go.
So yeah, this is a shot of Bruce's track. The layout.
So
Bruce, you have
the backside where the
got
TV is. There's like a 3-foot by 20-foot stretch to walk.
Gotcha. So how big is that layout total?
I think it's 21 by 10.
21 by 10. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that has really good flow. You have quite a slot car collection, and displayed very nicely, I might add.
Thanks. My wife and I put that together.
Yeah.
Built the boxes and all that stuff. So.
A lot of work.
I don't know. You have Me TV up there?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I was down here, I didn't have cable, so it was a lot of Andy Griffith and Bonanza and cartoons while I'm sitting up here building.
Yeah, you're getting lots of compliments in the chats about the layout.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Let's see, Jim. We have tried with CG also. Never get an answer. Vaporware. That's too bad.
Yeah, I don't know if he's, in tight with others and, they're exclusive. I don't know how it works. So.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah, John. Good to see you, John. Hey, Tim. Thanks. Good to have you tonight. Let's see what else. Looks like another hobby shop. Dusty says.
Probably.
Well, with all those cars. Now, are there? So I'll ask you about cars. So what do you tend to favor? Do you have a favorite class of cars, or you just like everything?
Well, I would say so at the shop we run a stock Trans Am and then a modified Trans Am. The modified Trans Am, you can pretty much, throw your wallet at it and do whatever you want. Again, no magnets, no magnet, downforce type motors. And the wheels have to stay, even or within the quarter panels and fenders. Other than that, it's good to go. I really like that one. So I got this car, came in a collection. I don't know where my camera is.
Yeah, you're good.
It's somewhere here. So I put a 3D printed chassis.
That's sweet.
And NSR. Man, I stink at this.
You're good.
An NSR motor, some wheel inserts. These were actually made by Jamie B. His printer's pretty good. I think he's got a new one since then, but that's why I wanted to get with the CG because they've got really nice 5-spoke. They're just
Oh, those are sweet.
super crisp and clean, and no like mold marks and all that. But I like the Trans Am, the Revo slots. I like those a lot because, um, again, like I said, I'm not a parts pusher, and I should be, but you know, I'm not. I
Yeah.
don't want to do the work either. And with the Revo slots, it's really changed the guide that comes with it, add some weight, loosen up a thing here or there, and you're pretty much gone.
Yeah,
And
those are
I
those are pretty
personally
sweet.
do that.
Those are cool cars.
Um,
Dave says he wants to buy Bruce's 1 Mini.
oh yeah, you can. Everything's for sale.
Everything is for sale. Um,
Yeah.
Kevin, was that an Andy Griffith reference? Yes. Um, yeah, Nick, it is an awesome collection and track. Let's see where else we at. Nice, fantastic.
It's a lot of fun. It's like the only car you can push it to the limit and not get in trouble.
Yeah. I can do that with my Volkswagen. I can push it to the limit and
Yeah,
not get in
well,
trouble.
I guess I could too, but drum brakes all the way around. It makes it sketchy when you're
It
stopping.
it does. It sure does. I'd like to put discs on mine, but it's probably never going to happen. Let's see
Yeah.
what else. What are the classes and how many classes are there? Neil Thompson asked. So he's talking about at CIncy Slots.
There's probably 8 or 9. Um, we've got the Trans Am modified, the Trans Am stock, which you can tune it, but it has to have all stock parts as far as motor, the gears. Still has to have the plastic wheels. You can true the fronts. On mine, you ask how do you true fronts on a electric car because they're pressed onto the chassis. If you understand, it's got
Yeah.
the molded bushings. So what I did one day, I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. So I went on the front side of the bushing, but on the bumper side, took my Dremel and slowly started cutting that off right where it meets the chassis and got it far enough to where I could snap it out without breaking it. Then got plastic bushings, cut those, snapped them on, put it on my tire truer, trued up the fronts, and then snapped it back in.
Gotcha.
So again,
It's a lot of
if
work.
you do that, you're gonna ruin your chassis. I'm telling you not to do it.
Yeah.
But I would do it.
Yeah.
if you have the skills, I would definitely do it because it makes a world of difference.
So
we got
so for that,
Steve, the guy that always shows up late,
yeah.
short guy, black hair. Well, his stock Camaro will run probably third or fourth against modifieds because we did that with his car, and I don't know how that car does it, but it's a beast.
It's a beast, huh? Yeah. So do you think that Thunder Slot's new Mustang will have an impact on that class?
The biggest problem, and Pat, the tall guy,
Yeah.
I kind of picked up where, like, there was a group in Cincinnati, and it kind of still is, called CIncy Slot Rods. And it was just a group of guys like James, Pat, I'm trying to think who else would have been in that group. But anyhow, it was the same. There was, before I offered racing at the shop, there was a guy that had a shop with a couple different tracks, and they would go and race there, and then they'd race at home. And, so I just picked up pretty much their rules, and then Pat, Steve, and I went out one night and tried to modify them to where we're not looking for smoky Unix. We're looking for guys that are going to play within the rules
Right.
and have fun doing so.
Yeah.
So, you know, we we try to not, that guy has this and that guy has that. And it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
that's not what I want. And that's why I resisted for as long as I did, because everyone's like, you should come out to this place and race. I'm like, no, I'm not listening to people,
Right.
whine and complain. And, here I am running this car legally, and then they're running that. And, it's just, I didn't want to deal with that. So.
Yeah. Well, you've built a culture at your shop or at your track that breeds that. So everybody's playing by the rules and having fun, and that's what's important, I think. I just so with that Trans Am, you start with a Skillectrics Trans Am. Everybody does.
No, I mean, I think James, he runs a Porsche 911. If you look up Trans Ams, there's some really weird cars on the list that you wouldn't
Okay.
expect. Like, I think there was like a Tempest. I never knew that till I was
Yeah.
on YouTube surfing Trans Am racing, and they called him going by. I was like, holy crap! I always just thought it was Cougars, Cudas, Mustangs,
Right.
Camaros, but there were 911s and other things. But for the most part, all the Trans Am cars are either SCX with 3D chassis,
Okay.
Skillectric Mustang Camaro. Um, Daryl tried like hell to make the uh, Cougar run well, and we just couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
So, but there was something you touched on, and I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, you're right.
It'll come back. Oh, the Thunder Slot Mustang.
Yeah.
Going back to Pat, since he pretty much had most of the rules in place, but everything and we always give him a hard time about it, but it's all in good fun. He always wants the wings on the cars. He's more interested in the cars looking pretty going around
Sure.
than he is how fast we can go around. And so every class we race, you have to have at least a number on your car. So to run the Thunder Slot, you're going to have to put a number on it.
Sure.
I mean, you can buy stickers to just throw it on there and take it back off. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yeah, I think John's mentioned that.
When you put those in, I think it's going to change it a lot.
Yeah, I think it would too. So I think the easy thing is just to keep doing what you're doing, but that definitely could be because that there's probably liveries coming in that car that will be Trans Am liveries. So
yeah,
and I noticed, so for vintage, so you run 1 month at a time for your classes. So basically 4 straight weeks, or you run 5 weeks if it's a month that has 5. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what will we see on the track for vintage this month?
From me or
just from most, I guess. Where do you see guys trending?
I see Thunder Slot would probably go just above NSR, which is just above Slotted.
Okay.
But I'm going to run this baby at least 1 week.
Yes. I love it.
Racer resin car.
Yeah. That's got a good number on it.
Like the Elba, that car just rocks. I bet any of the Thunder Slot cars, with the exception of their first maybe 3 or 4 releases when they did those McLarens, if I remember right, they're kind of not up to par with what they have out now.
That's cool.
But what's out now is, I mean, you just put it on the track and you don't hear a thing.
That's what surprised me about them. They're super sweet.
Yeah.
Nice performing cars.
I'll be doing the P68.
Oh yeah.
And the Matra.
The Matra. Is that a slotted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an NSR.
NSR. So it looks like you're ready for Thursday night.
I'm ready.
All right.
I don't know how I'll do, but it'll look good going around.
Yeah. You got some fast guys at the track. It was fun watching all the other races just to watch how guys perform. Pat, he's quick.
I think it's because he's got that bird's eye view. I mean, he's in a blimp. I
That's great.
mean, I don't know how tall he really is, but he's got to be 7 foot.
Yeah, he's a tall. Neil Thompson, how do you define vintage?
Anything that would have raced in real life, 1976 and back.
Yeah.
And we've discussed moving that 76, further along, and we just never have.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's considered vintage now? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the 80s in vintage, and
that's right.
That just kills you to say it out loud. When a Fox body Mustang is considered vintage now.
Yeah, that's great. Daniel, you pulled a trigger on the 908. You will not be disappointed on the NSR 908. I love mine. It's quick. No. It performs well.
It'll be a good one.
Yep, sure will.
The one I'm running the 4th week is going to be a Thunder Slot. There was I think it was a Sunoco McLaren with, it makes this little air intake look like a little toy. I mean, it's got a monster.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to get that one.
Try to get that one tuned up and ready.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm looking at my schedule. I don't know that I can be down this week, but I'm shooting towards the following week on Thursday because the vintage class, that's my favorite era of cars. So it'll be fun to get a couple cars tuned and get down there to race. So I think Dusty and John Mark are excited about that too. So that'll be good.
Josh Reed was asking. We call it the the Trans Am heyday years. So, I guess that would be 65 to 71, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would consider that range. Just the research that I've done. Yes. If you look up Wikipedia.
Yeah, bring that Streamliner, Bernie.
37
that way we'll
Mercedes.
Have one person we can beat. The tires on that thing are so narrow.
That's great. The 70s was the real Trans Am.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was 70, 71. That's good years for Trans Am.
8, 9.
Yep. So if give a shout out to your website, because not only do you have a track, you have a great website with, you've bought a lot of collections, so you have a ton of cars out there, and so talk a little bit about your website and what you have to offer out there and how people can find you.
Yeah, so the website is CIncySlots.com. Pretty simple. For whatever reason, people think it's Cindy Slots, and maybe it's just how they read it or how the letters come together. I don't know, but it's Cincy, like CINCY. Obviously Cincinnati.
Right.
So we have a specials page, which is probably one of our most popular pages because all the cars on there are either used, might have a mirror missing. The car may be fine, but the box is junk. A lot of the ones that are on there now came from a collection where it was like 900 plus cars. And, the guy told me they were all new, what he wanted for them. I was excited, ready to go. I went up, drove 4.5 hours up to get them. And just, we were in a rush, loaded everything up, came home, started sorting through them, looking at them, and probably 150 of them hadn't been run. But when you look at the bottom, they look brand new.
Right.
But, for me as a shop owner, if he's put power to it and it's done, even half a lap, to me, I count that as used.
Right.
If I call it out as new like he did, and then I send it and they're like, well, it's got wear on the on the guide. I bought it for my collection. It's got to be pristine. Well, then I'm screwed.
Right.
So when I buy collections, I say to the people, one lap, putting power to it, whatever, is used. So,
yeah.
And, I'm not necessarily blaming him. I should have looked, but, I just took him for his word because, I guess I'm a little more trustworthy than I should be, but they all looked brand new. You would have thought it was a brand new car. I had people email me a few times saying, this car is absolutely beautiful. I can't believe it's been used. And, so on that page, there's a lot of good deals on there. We also have, all the big players, Carrera. We have some NSR. We bought another collection recently, another just over 900 cars, and they were all new, and it was slotted NSR, Scale Auto, Carrera, Thunder Slots. It was from everybody.
Yeah.
And that was a pristine collection. It wasn't cheap, but it's a lot of great cars for everybody.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of requests for that? People trying to sell their collections and sell out?
It's like feast or famine.
Yeah.
So I had, everybody knows, or should, War Eagle. He was down in Florida. He was a big player on one of the forums. And he called me up, and I was going to fly down, box it up, and then, ship it back. And he was nice enough to, go to whatever the grocery store is, get boxes, a skid, and, the stretch wrap it to the skid. So all we had to do was, call a trucking company, say this is where you're going. They pick it up and they brought it to us. That was probably every bit of 1,000 cars. So in the last 2 years, we've, nearly in the just 3 collections brought in 3,000 cars. So
wow.
And that still has, Skelectrix releases, Slotis releases, and Slotit. Geez, that's a whole nother story. I shouldn't touch on that one.
Are there
what I'm talking about.
Are there any of the new releases coming out that you're excited about? We've seen we've seen Skelectrix, Scale Auto to yesterday, Carrera
for 23.
Yeah, for 2023. Yeah, what's going to be the hot cars this coming year?
Man,
those Cudas are nice.
From
SCX.
From Rick. Yeah, those are real nice. I was watching Dave's video. The green one, like he said, he's absolutely said it right. It's not a color for everybody, but when you see it,
they're gorgeous.
I'm not against green colors, but when I pulled it out and Josh was there, I was like, dude, this green one it's killer.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
And the other two look great too, but I didn't bring in the $200 cars. Just it's a lot of money to shell out to have sit on the shelf. I'm sure somebody would have bought it, but you just never know.
Yeah, that the 512 Ferrari Sunoco is going to be a popular car. That's a pretty good car.
We have maybe one left.
Yeah. There's some in the Carrera. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me that I was super excited about. But if we can get tires for the KTM Expo, that's a great looking car.
Don't even bring that up. That's got me bent. Is the way Carrera's doing their wheels now.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand. I get it, but I don't get it. Why does everybody have to have a I can't even say it. proprietary wheel. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah.
Like the new Carrera wheel, I get it. I don't know that this is what's really happening, but this is my take on it. They're making a standard. It looks like they're making a standard axle to where they can just clip different outer shells on that inner hub.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with that, as you probably know, but some of these guys may not, is the inner hub is smaller than the outer hub. So all those tires that people are making that may already be available that would fit on a specific car are now junk because
Right.
they're not going to touch the inside.
Yeah.
So it's just going to kind of like hang. And Revo Slot, they do the same stupid stuff. I mean, I could have sold tons of the little cars, the BMW 2+2, or no, the BMW 2002, the Alpha, the Escort, and the first question I get, you have tires for that? No. All right, well, I'll wait till you get tires.
Right.
And so I know BRM, the big brother, I believe, of Revo Slot, they're the same.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. If they supported you or supplied you, a better tire than what's on the car, it might be one thing.
Right.
At least Revo Slot, they do have two different shore tires. I've yet to test them. But that really drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have tires for something, people don't necessarily want to buy it unless it's something they gotta have.
Right. Well, I mean, it seems like that's the first thing that most people do is swap out the tires, go to silicones, go to urethanes. We don't. I run silicones on my track mostly, and so once you pick a tire, then you usually stick with it. So
yeah, but I just think the silicone, I feel like it lasts a lot longer as a complete tire, where the urethane, again, I should be pushing urethane, but I think urethane, it wears faster than silicone.
Yeah.
So you would be back buying more because you need them, not because you want them. But,
yeah.
Again, my philosophy is I'll give you the info and you decide.
Right.
And like even with the early Carrera cars, like 2000s, I mean, you drive them down the track, let off the trigger, and they would just coast until they crashed. And, I'd get people, well, what do you think of Carrera? I'm like, well, here I'm sitting with a bunch of them.
Right.
And it's like, if you want to go for a Sunday drive because the car's cool looking and go around the track, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to race it, I really can't in good conscience tell you that that's the car for you.
Right.
So, I just feel like, you be as honest as you can and people appreciate it and hopefully they come back and
Yep. Well, guys, this has been fantastic. It's 9:20, so we'll wrap up the live stream. I think we took care of a lot of questions, but Bruce, this has been fantastic. I really enjoy your track. I enjoy being around you guys down there on Thursday nights at CIncy Slots. Guys, if you need cars, you see how big his collection is and what he has in the store, go to CIncy Slots, check out their website, and help Bruce continue to be a great voice in this hobby. We need great people to continue to bang the drum for the hobby, and Bruce, you're doing a fantastic job. So thanks for joining me tonight. And guys, thanks for.
Can I touch on one more
Yeah,
thing?
go ahead. Yeah. Yep.
I think a lot of people have questions on, what is going on with super tires. I just want to give you what I know. When Nick passed away, can't remember can't remember exactly how long it's been, but his daughter, his son-in-law, and even his grandson were, helping him when he needed help, and they all know what they're doing. His daughter wasn't sure what they were going to do, and they decided, they want to keep Nick's legacy going by continuing with Super Tires. Um, it's the same great quality he's always had. Um, he's always been more on the quiet side as far as, he was always a word of mouth kind of person. And that's how our automotive parts business was. So I know where he's coming from. Um, he wasn't a flashy person. Neither are we. It's not like, hey, come here, we got
Right.
it. You got to see it. So, I hope that um, people will support his daughter and keep the legacy. The people that run his tires know that they're a fantastic tire. Um, I know there's other people out there making tires. I'm not bashing on theirs. I recommend, trying the different tires and pick the one that works best for you.
Right.
So on wood, it may be this brand. On plastic, it might be this brand. And for me personally, the Super Tires has always been the way to go. But um, if there's a tire that you'd like them to produce, I would go to supertires.com. I'm sure there's an email for her there. Shoot her an email and say, hey, do you have a tire for this, or we'd like to see a tire for that. I know um, I hope I can say this, but I believe they found a new machine shop to help with molds and bringing their wheels back and things like that. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I I talked about the letter that Pamela sent me, and
Mm-hmm.
just how that was nice to get a handwritten letter, just thanking me for the shout out and racing their tires, and that doesn't happen in lots of businesses, and I'm sure that there are lots of other cottage industry businesses that would be that way, but they took a big chance. Taking this over and trying to
Mm-hmm.
continue what Nick had started. So, yeah, I think that reaching out and letting them know that you're using their tires, and hey, letting them know what you need tires for might help them make some decisions down the road. So, yeah, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
Bruce.
And, if you're running like down at the shop, say, if I wanted to do, or even here, if I was hosting a 2 hour event with, 20 people or whatever, and, I contacted Pamela, she would probably have no problem either, sending stickers, or maybe I'm not going to speak for her, but I know that she's willing to help out in whatever capacity she can.
Yeah,
Um, I know that when you send emails, at least when Nick was there, he would, just forward emails to me so I could answer them because I don't think he wanted to.
right.
So he would just send it to me, and then I would, do the best I can to help
Yeah,
him and the customer.
sure.
Um, he just wanted to make tires. He didn't want to.
Right.
And they do have a Facebook page, so
Yeah.
I've been chatting with her. I set that up for Nick, and he's like, I don't want to do all that stuff. So I'm like, and I never closed it or anything. And so when Pamela came on, I was like, hey, why don't here's all the stuff. Let's get this thing rolling because I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like she's at the moment an underdog coming into her dad's passion and not necessarily her passion. And
Right.
um, that's exactly where I am right now. When my dad passed away, the Ford parts business was not my passion, and he just couldn't get enough of it.
Right.
He just loved the game of you know making everything.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and to
I
me,
think that I think it's now new ownership, and everybody gets a fresh start, and so hopefully um, Pamela and they made the right decision to keep going, and people support them. So yeah.
yeah,
So Bruce,
I think she
thanks,
did.
man. Yeah, I
Yep,
think so
no
too.
problem. Anytime.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I
yeah. This
wasn't
was
too sure. It's all right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you some Thursday night.
All right.
All right, take
Thanks
care, guys.
all. See you.